Hey guys, we are live. Welcome to the Backs to Riches podcast. I'm Zach Ginn, your host. I quit my minimum wage bag boy job to pursue the riches of real estate investing at the age of 17 and never looked back. I'm here to educate and inform entrepreneurs, young and old, how to become complete real estate investors by talking to the best and most influential minds of real estate. I'm joined by Matthew Leonard, aka Biz Matthew. Matthew
Hey,
is a real estate investor, wholesaler out of Chattanooga, Tennessee, and he has successfully become a complete real estate investor within a year. He's not even over a year in this business, and he is having massive success. He's documenting his journey on YouTube, and I want to really bring someone who's really gone from a bags to riches story within a year, and not like people in the past that have been doing this 10 plus years and they don't understand what it's like to start it up. So thanks for coming on today, Matt.
of course. Thanks for having me, Zach. I appreciate this platform. And yeah, I've been subscribing to you for a while, so it's good to see your growth.
All right, great. Yeah, I mean, I love talking to people over the internet. It's just weird seeing them in person, talking to them. I think it's awesome. But
Right.
what I really wanted to start out today was I want to know what your bags to riches story is.
Yeah. So basically, I started, I went the generic route actually. I don't come from a rich family, but I did, had the opportunity to go to, university and whatnot. So I did that route. I studied accounting actually. And accounting. And I mean, I actually did like the coursework, but when I started working in accounting, it just wasn't my thing. It was kind of boring and mundane. And I felt like I was too young to be sitting in the office and doing stuff like that. So I wanted to take more risk in my life. And I actually decided just to learn how to make money online, right? And I actually did e-commerce, like drop shipping for a while. And I actually did succeed in it. Like I had a store and I was making decent money, good money, more than what I was making with my accounting job. But it's just, I didn't like the layout and the format of drop shipping, how it's shipping directly from China and it takes like 3-4 weeks and the quality's not that good. So I kind of had left, I lost passion in that. And so I kind of quit that. And I didn't want to go back to a 9-to-5 job. So I started looking online again on what else I could do. And I came across wholesaling, just watching YouTube videos and other things like that. And yeah, and so in the start of 2019, actually, that's when I started.
Okay.
But it took me a while to get my first deal, actually 8 months. And but once I got my first deal, that's when the ball began to roll and I started getting more deals under my belt. Uh, but yeah, that's kind of what led me to wholesaling.
Wow. Did you become a CPA in the
No, it
beginning?
wasn't. No, I
Okay.
didn't go that route. Just a regular accountant. Yeah.
Oh man, I graduated probably 6 months ago, and I took all those accounting classes. They actually helped me a lot now, but you don't really need to be successful. You can learn them all online. But yeah, accounting's
Exactly.
boring. You'll make money, but you'll die inside,
Right,
and
right,
that's the truth.
exactly.
But yeah, so
Mhm,
I really want to break this down because a lot of people watching this can really relate to you in the beginning. Like it's
mhm.
taken them forever to find this first deal. I got 2 DMs yesterday. Like I haven't had my first deal. It's been like 3 months. Like what do I do? And I always tell them do some sweat equity, things like that. But I mean, can you tell me your story, how you got that first deal? Like what were you learning, things like that?
Right. Yeah, so getting my first deal, I mean, that's something we all want, right?
Hmm.
And it can be frustrating when you see people online and they say, yeah, I just started 30 days ago and I got my first deal, which is fine. Maybe they just have good skills or luck or anything, but people's journeys are different. And when I first started, I think I went a little too complex. I overthought a lot of things, and I think a lot of beginners do that. And I went first to like complex marketing, like I was trying to do text, marketing, which is good, but it can be a little bit challenging for a beginner. And I was just watching so many different channels. I wasn't sticking to like one YouTuber or one set way. And which is, they're all good, but you should just try to stick to one or two. And and so I think that was one of my mistakes. And then yeah, so I just kept on pushing, and from my money I made from drop shipping, I was investing in this business, and so uh, since that money was going down, I was like, okay, I have to find a way to get my first deal. And so I just went back to the basics of drop shipping. And I think that's fundamental for a lot of beginners. Like, don't overthink it, you know? And I went actually to direct mail, which is a super old marketing technique, but it still works. Like, if you're still getting promotions in your mail, there's a reason why people are sending you these mails, because it does convert some people. So I just went back to that. Uh, in your classic absentee list, high equity absentee,
Yep.
and that's what I started marketing. I was just consistent with it every week. With especially with mailers, you just have to send it out every week for like 6, 7 weeks in a
Mhm.
row. And I was able to find someone, who was motivated, didn't really know what I was doing, um, but I had a contract I got off of Google and
Nice.
edited based off of my county or whatnot, and then had some negotiation. The seller was a little bit difficult, but I learned a lot. Um,
Was this on the phone or in person?
well, yeah, well, he called my mail piece, and then I met him in person to actually look at
Oh,
the house. Yeah.
most people don't want to do that. That's scary.
Yeah, I mean, that's scary, but I feel like when you're in front of the person, you can usually your conversions can go a little bit higher. I mean,
Will.
people always do it virtually too, but um he was an older gentleman. I think older people value, face-to-face
Mhm.
contact a little bit more. And so I did that. And plus it's nearby. It's like, it's not like I'm driving an hour out. And yeah, so when I first met, saw the house, walked through, it needed repairs. I mean, there were just updates, like a lot of cosmetics, but it wasn't like major repairs, like no plumbing issues or anything like that. And I when we came to price, the house was probably worth 150,
Mhm.
160. And so when we came to price, I shot him an offer at, I just went 50% of the market value. I said like around 70,000. And he actually said yes. The first time I said that, I was like, dang, I could have went lower, whenever they say yes immediately. But I mean, it was a fair price though at the end of the day. And I kind of guaranteed him, hey, we'll close as soon as possible, 30 days or less. But I had no buyer in mind,
Oh
no
boy.
cash buyer. Like, no, I had a list of cash buyers, but I didn't have like a specific buyer for this
Yeah.
house yet. And he was expecting me to close like probably within 2 weeks. So that put a lot of pressure on me to find a buyer, which I think helped me to actually find a buyer faster. And yeah, I just called up people who bought properties around that area for cash within the last year. And I came across a lady, older woman who invests and who flips houses, and um, yeah, I showed her the house. Um, and, she made an offer, and yeah, I was able to assign it to her for $84,000. So on my
Nice.
first deal, I mean, which is not bad, I was able to get, 14,000, but I wasn't so upfront with the buyer having her to pay the closing fee. So I actually paid the closing fee on my part for the seller, which was like 175. So I ended up at 13,825, which is, close
Mhm.
to 14 grand. But yeah, there was just a lot of other details within that story, the ups and downs, negotiating with the seller and with the cash buyer, to arrive to that number and whatnot.
Yeah. How
Yeah.
nervous were you going to that first appointment? Was this the first appointment you went on? You got your first deal on?
No, no, it wasn't my
Oh,
first appointment. Yeah, I went on
okay.
some other ones before, so it prepared me a little bit more. But yeah, I mean, it was, when you actually have something on the contract and you see it coming to fruition, you definitely have nerves. Like, you watching every detail, checking up with the title company like every day, making
Yep.
sure everything is fine. Um, and yeah, and that's just something you experience during your first deal.
Wow. So
Mhm.
That's so cool. But I just love hearing everyone's story starting out. I remember I always love to tell my story. I was so nervous my first appointment. The seller was telling me things about houses, and he's like, "Oh, these are just the crown molding." I'm like, I didn't even know what that was. I'm like, okay.
Exactly.
It's just, guys, you need to go on these appointments. The more you go on them, the better you become.
Hmm.
I think about my appointments I went on when I was 17. It was so cringy, and I don't understand. I think I mean, what was the biggest limiting beliefs you had when you were starting out, you think?
Yeah, some that I had to know everything about a property,
Mhm.
right? Like you were saying, you didn't even know what they were talking about. And, at the end of the day, wholesaling is not about the property. It's about, finding a solution to someone's problem and helping them sell their house. And, and like you were saying, it's a numbers game. Like the more people you talk to, the closer you are to a deal. And, you know, it's, it's just reps, it's like working out, keep
Yep.
on doing them curls, you get stronger. So I think that was one limiting belief was I had to know everything. And then another limiting belief is that I had to be super creative, and I don't think as a beginner you should think so much about being creative. Like, there's so many strategies out here, but if you go to the core of real estate, the core of wholesaling, I think, will help you closer into getting your first deal. And just follow the steps. You're going to be nervous, you're going to be stressful, but those are natural emotions. Be aware of
Yep.
that. And, just say, okay, I'll get less nervous over time. And just think about these things, while you're approaching this business.
Mhm. Definitely. Do you still get nervous on your appointments?
No, not, I don't get
Mhm.
as nervous. I
Mhm.
mean, it depends on like the area or the person. If I spoke to them over the phone. I mean, there's a little bit of jitters, but it's not as much as
Mhm.
before. Yeah.
Yeah. I only get nervous. I get only nervous when I go to one area of town, and that's like 45 minutes away. It's literally the hood,
No.
and there's bullet holes everywhere. Everyone's getting.
Mm,
I stopped going there. I went virtual. That was the only place I ever got nervous when I just stopped because I have a decent truck, and I had some comments there. I'm like, I'm done. But yeah,
mhm,
I definitely agree with you. It's a muscle. I call
mhm.
it the selling muscle. The more you keep going and going and going. I mean, what are you doing now to strengthen your selling muscle?
Yeah, so I mean, definitely, like when I started this journey, I wanted to take a different approach as before when I was starting like e-commerce drop shipping.
Mhm.
I was just learning everything online and going with the flow. But this business, I wanted to, be more intentional about it, right? And learn
Mhm.
as much as I can. So, I'm reading books, during this journey. And, I'm not a fast reader, so I only read like 10 pages a day. But, with consistency,
Mhm.
you can build up your book list. And so right now I'm actually reading a negotiation book. It's called Never Split the Difference by Chris Voss. And he's a
It's a
former
great one.
FBI, yeah, investigator. And he worked with, dealing with kidnappers across seas. And now he trains businesses and sales reps to negotiate, like even in business. And he also teaches classes at universities. But yeah, just learning through books and listening to podcasts and watching videos is how I'm sharpening my skills.
I would. That's an amazing book. I recommend anyone to read that. I honestly
Hmm.
only got three things out of that book when I read it a couple of years ago, and the number one thing that really helped me out. I want to summarize this book for you guys. I don't know if you read the whole book, but it was just about when talking to people or sellers. I would say they have three things you need to get for them, like roadblocks. It's emotions, logic, and fear.
Hmm.
Once I learned that, it changed the game for me.
Mhm, mhm,
Because
mhm.
if the seller's got some emotional like attachment to the house and you don't address it, they're done. You're never
Right.
gonna get the deal. And
Mhm,
you get it all done, and then you get their logics done, the emotions done, but they're still not there. If you hit them with some fear, like, hey, I got 13 other properties I'm going to, it just
mm,
clicks. So,
mhm.
I mean, is there any other books that you're reading that really just helping your journey?
Yeah, I mean, another book that I recently read, I think another, like a simple book for entrepreneurs in general is The Richest Man in Babylon. I recently read that. It's just like a very thin book. It's easy
Mhm.
to read. I mean, it is kind of older English, but I think it's small enough where anyone can read and just teaches you basic principles about saving money, thinking about your profit. And that was my next book, was Profit First, that I read, because I think a lot of wholesalers, even big wholesalers, they're not, at the end of the day, they're not making profits, some of them, because their marketing is so expensive, or
Yep.
they're paying salary, and yeah, and they have other expenses. And, at the end of the day, it's about cash flow and how much you're actually retaining in your business. And to even put that aside, even despite you having debt, is still put your profit aside. And I think that really helped me in my journey.
Definitely. I
Mhm.
mean, it's amazing the way that these books can work. But I mean, there's nothing that you can read all the books in the world. There's nothing that can replicate actually physically talking to a seller and getting that deal signed. I mean, was there anything that really clicked when you started getting first deal, second deal, and then it's getting a lot of it's just going up and up and up. I mean, what really clicked for you to start just ramping up your deal flow?
Yeah, I mean, I think one thing is, I mean, of course, consistent marketing and trying to talk with people as much as you can,
Hmm.
um, and just try to get in front of them, because I'm doing direct mail, so it's more of a passive sort of marketing.
Yep.
But in order for me I wanted to be more active. I started doing more driving for dollars, and then calling up some of those leads. And so I think that's a good component. I think what also helped me is I begin to be more confident, so I'm more relaxed over the phone. I don't overreact when someone is yelling or says a super high price to me. I'm chill about it. I heard this before. I know how to react to this, and that's what I do. And yeah, I think when you're, reading the books, and from your experience, you learn just to listen to what the person is trying to say, and despite their attitude, is there motivation here? Try to seek it out, try to bring it out, and try to help them. Even if they're being a little bit rude, see if there's something you can do to help this person. And like, think of it like, oh, okay, my mom is needing to sell her house. Yes, it needs repair, so she won't get the full price. How can I help her out? And, try to bring that approach when you're talking to sellers.
Hmm. What's your opinion on? There's a lot of younger wholesalers out there, our age, that are really in this. They do a lot of haircut deals, if you know what that means. So that means they get under contract, and then they get a cash buyer. They maybe get 15K in there, and then they go back to the seller and try to cut them out an extra like 5 to 10 grand every single deal.
Hmm.
What's your opinion on that?
I mean, I don't think it's a good idea at all,
Mhm.
because I think, once you made a price commitment to a seller,
Mhm.
you have to stand by your word. And
Yeah.
it's good for it's good, yeah, it's good for your business, but even good for your personal self, for
Mm.
integrity, for your morals, because, your inner person affects your business. So, like, if you're a dishonest person, you're going to have a dishonest business. And, eventually things are going to come out. Other people are going to talk. I'm recently working with another wholesaler in town to do a joint venture. And, like,
Mhm.
if they find out that I'm doing things like that, they can tell all their buddies around town about what I'm doing. And, that would ruin my relationship in the community. But yeah, it's just make your word count, and just know, okay, I'll learn next time just to get at a lower price, or I'll just learn how to be a better negotiator, to, and yeah, yeah, it's not a good idea.
Mhm. And a lot of people, when they're starting out, they get all stressed out. They don't know what to do, and it's just analysis paralysis like that. So I
Mm,
wanted to break down this very carefully. So when you started out, how exactly did you find a contract to use? Because that stumps a lot of people.
yeah, and I get a lot of messages, and comments, DMs about, oh, can you send me your contract and stuff like that. Which I do, it's no problem. But that shouldn't be the focus of the business.
Mhm.
Business is talking with sellers. But yeah, how did I find my contract? Just Googling, wholesaling, purchase and sales agreement, assignment contracts, picking one online, editing it, and then yeah, using a simple one-page contract, something like that.
Mhm. Okay.
Yeah,
And what are some tips you can give some people on finding cash buyers?
finding cash buys. Yeah, I have some videos on my channel about that. But I say one way is the best way for me that I found good quality cash buyers is just going on PropStream or ListSource and looking
Mhm.
at cash sales that happen within the past 6 or 12 months, right? And look at absentee cash buyers, right? People who buy properties for cash, but they don't live in them. Usually they're investors. And skip tracing those lists and just calling every single one of those people, just saying, hey, I'm an investor, I'm a wholesaler. Most of the time they know who wholesalers are. Say, would you like to be added to my cash buyer list? Or even if you have a property under contract, it's good to already have a property under contract so you can add value to them immediately. Say, hey, I have this property out here. What do you think of it? Price, things like that. And just go down that list and you'll find a good core of people who would be interested in your deals.
Mhm. So I really wanted to bring back into now where you're at because you're doing one neat deal, two deal, you're documenting your journey on YouTube. I mean, what is your plan now with this whole coronavirus going on?
Yeah, I mean, with coronavirus, I mean, I'm still marketing, still pushing out mail. I actually been testing a new, putting in things related to the crisis. Like, I don't think you should totally ignore it, but at the same time, you shouldn't let it stop you, right?
Mhm.
So I think people appreciate your being aware of what all of us are going through, but that you're still buying houses. So like in my mail piece, I say, hey, despite some investors not buying houses, we're still buying houses during this
Mhm.
time. Um, and yeah, I'm still talking with people and I'm letting them know, hey, like even following up with people, hey, I'm not at the same price that I used to be at earlier this month or earlier last month. And if they still not good with the price, I'll let them know, hey, thank you. I cannot guarantee I'll be at this price next week or even next month. With the crisis going on, and I think it motivates some people.
Mhm.
And I mean, recently I should be closing on a deal tomorrow actually, and
Nice.
and price went significantly down, and I think because of this pandemic really helped that too.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay. So I think it's really cool because you're almost a student starting out of the YouTube university per se. And I think it's really stressful for a lot of people. I mean, I run a YouTube, you run a big YouTube. Like there's so many real estate wholesaling guys out there. You can get all stressed out. Like if you see like a Sean Terry type guy, he'll tell you do this. You see like a Brett Daniels, he'll tell you do this. It's just you get information overload. And a lot of these people have been just they do so well that they kind of, I don't want to knock them per se, but they're not, some of them aren't in the field. Like Sean and Brent, they're in the field doing well. But there's other guys that they're not in the field, they're not in the trenches talking to sellers, this COVID-19 thing. And I just wanted to give you a shout out because I think it's, I wish when I started out, I
Mhm.
looked on YouTube everywhere. It was just guys, with Ferraris and stuff, just talking. You can do it too. I did it.
Right.
I mean, someone that's really just calm, can speak. They say, hey, I got this deal. Let me show you how I did it. I think it's really important. A guy like you having your YouTube. I mean, how beneficial would it be to have like another Matthew Leonard type YouTube channel when you were starting out?
Exactly. Yeah, it would have been huge, a huge benefit because just seeing their journey and relating it to myself. Because, I'm showing, from my first deal, and you can even see like probably my growth on speaking and on my videos, like how much
Mhm.
more comfortable I am in front of the camera. And I think by people seeing the growth in me as a person and as a business person, um, it makes it more relatable. And I think when I started, it would have been really helpful. And, I think it will give me more access to that person too, in a way, because, they're growing and I'm growing at the same time. I can send them a message on Instagram. Hopefully they can message me back, something like that. So yeah, I think it would have been a huge benefit.
Mhm. And so you sort of answered that my next question, but I mean, what was your motivation in starting a YouTube channel, especially when you didn't have any deals?
Right. Uh, I think just starting a YouTube channel was to just document my journey. Number one, I just
Mhm.
wanted personally for me just to look back at myself, be like, wow, I was back there and now I'm over here, right? And so just looking at that and seeing how far I have come, and then also being able to share that with other people, saying, hey, if I came from this to that, you can do the same thing, and just inspiring other people in that way, and just learning from my mistakes, so you won't have to fall into those same mistakes. And yeah, and just teaching people along the way, about wholesaling.
Yeah. Yeah. So in a lot of your videos, you have these shirts. You're wearing it right now. It says business. Can you
Yeah.
kind of explain those shirts and everything about that?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I do have yeah, I wear these shirts because, my channel name is Biz Matthew with a Z, so
Mhm.
BizMatthew. Um, and the reason, I just thought it was a clever name, a catchy name, and so
Yeah.
I thought of business too with a Z. And I think having a Z as opposed to the regular spelling of the word, I think it,
Mhm.
shows that, hey, you don't have to be this flashy businessman or woman. You
Mhm.
don't have to uh, be like this cookie cutter way of, making income on the side. And I think in the words, by it being different, you can be a different businessman, and you can start from anywhere, to achieve financial freedom or whatnot.
Mhm. And a question I got for you, because I do a lot of wholesale deals, wholesale, like I do a million of the exit strategies just
Mhm.
because I've been through it. But I mean, I there's not many wholesale deals where you can go through and the thing's vacant and you can break it down like you do on your YouTube. I think you had one where you had like a $15,000 deal and you were inside the property. I mean, how were you able to do that?
Oh, just like get inside the property and
Yeah.
film it. Yeah, I mean, a lot of these properties, when you create trust and rapport with the seller, and they see you as a likable person, they'll trust you with their key or something like that to the house. And, I just let them know what I do. I say, hey, I need to show people the house, or I need to film things or take pictures, and they allow me. And yeah, and a lot of these properties that I'm filming, I mean, some of them are absentee. So, I can get in there, and because the seller has given me the key, to film, or to access, or to show my buyers. And then during that time, I usually film a YouTube video.
Mhm.
Hmm.
And so, one of the questions I really have, because I know the answer to this, but I want people to understand from another perspective, because I'm 20, you're 26, you go on appointments all the time with like, right, with like 60, 70, 80-year-old people.
Right.
How do you relate with them and build rapport?
Yeah, I mean, that's a good question. I think, building rapport with older people, I try to I don't try to big up myself, I
Hmm.
understand the age difference. I don't try to hide my age, or
Hmm.
age, or, anything about me. So, sometimes I approach it with hey, these are, um, my elders, I'm
Hmm.
respecting them, or like they're kind of like grandparents, where, you know, I can, be like a grandchild to them in a way, and they see my hustle. And a lot of older people, they appreciate, young people doing
Hmm.
things, in their career, other than just playing around. And so I try to bring that out when I'm meeting
Mhm.
these sellers. And then, just show that, hey, I've done this before, because you do want to speak with authority, not that you're playing around or anything. Um, but, of course, with love and kindness and all of that. And yeah, and yeah, I think, those are how I deal with them.
Great. And I know we're sort of poking fun of some of the bigger YouTubers that I respect them all that have like the Ferraris, the Lamborghinis, they're slick, like, they got teams and things like that. That's great. But I mean, I know in about 10 to 15 years, you're going to be just like that. But I mean, what is your vision and your plan for your real estate business in the next 1, 5, and 10 years?
Yeah, I mean, just right now, I still feel like I'm learning a lot in this business, and
Mhm.
I want to continue and just make it more consistent, right? Just getting consistent monthly deals, and at least towards the end of 2020, and reach a certain income every month with this business. And then with that, when I reach more consistency, pull myself away from that business by hiring people, and going to more of that level, but also just doing other things, having more influence on YouTube for sure. And, I'm upfront with my audience, like, hey, I don't have a mentorship or course right now, but maybe sometime in the future I may offer that. And so, I mean, that's something I look forward to doing in the near future, you know, whether that's one-on-one mentorship or through a course or through a group chat or something,
Mhm.
just so I can have more one-on-one contact with people who are really trying to learn this business. Um, yeah, and just trying to build up more rental incomes, buy properties myself, and get cash flow through there, and then yeah, just keep on working real estate and get bigger deals.
Okay. So yeah, that kind of answers the next question too. So you're starting to get a nice, I would say a nice income, wholesaling houses, and you got some profits, which is nice. But I mean, what are you doing with that money? Is it just sitting in the bank?
Well, yeah, I mean, right now, since I've done a few deals, not a ton, but it's getting more consistent,
Mhm.
and um, I'm not at the point where I can just outright buy a house, like a
Mhm.
$100,000 house in cash, but um, I want to get to that level. So right now, with my cash, I am, just saving most of it, to be honest, and just investing what I can, like, back into the business, whether that's
Okay.
marketing or just the YouTube channel, like buying gear, like a camera or something like that. But for right now, I'm not, especially during the crisis and whatnot, I'm not trying to spend. I'm trying to save more than spend right now or invest.
Mhm. Smart.
Yeah.
Okay. So last couple questions here is, I mean, what gets you pumped up every morning when you get out of bed? What gets you like pumped up for the day, getting ready to go and get some more deals?
Yeah, I mean, what gets me is just, hey, trying to make some money. I mean,
Mhm.
money is a huge factor to my motivation, to be honest. And, wanting to help, especially my parents, because I feel like they're going to retire soon, and I want to be able to be the one to help them out,
Mm.
if I can, on a monthly basis, get to that level where I can, like, give like a grand or two a month to them, um, on a consistent basis. So that motivates me a lot, being able to be like, hey, you don't have to worry about Social Security or your 401k. Like, I got you. And I think that motivates me. And just, yeah, just being a good influence and showing people, hey, if I can do this, you can too. And, like, and by posting on my channel, like, I can't, I can't back away from that. It's on the internet,
Yep.
like, it's out there, and I don't want to be a failure, which, I
Mhm.
mean, it's not bad to fail at things, but, I
Mhm.
think that motivates me to keep on succeeding. Be like, okay, I have people watching me. I got to go out. I got to do this.
Mhm. Yeah, I love asking that question. I don't know about you, but I have no kids. I'm not married, so it's because I go on this podcast. I talk to people like, "Oh, my kids. I've been married 15 years." That which motivates me. I really wanted to get in the core because a lot of these newer wholesalers, they're not married, they don't have kids. Like I'm not pumped up for my kid. Like how do I get excited? And I think that's a really true inspirational way to get excited in this real estate investing journey.
Mhm.
Do you have any, I don't know, YouTube mentors or mentors now that are really helping you grow?
Not at the moment.
Mhm,
I mean, I do encourage people to, invest in themselves and whatnot.
mhm,
Because, I paid for a course before, but it was like random. It was from someone, a commenter on Bigger Pockets who was, really big into the business. But
mhm.
yeah, I mean, I currently I don't have a mentor. I just try to follow a few people here on YouTube and take it, as a mentor in that aspect.
Yeah, definitely. So, this is the last question I always ask everyone in this audience here. So, this is really unique to you, but I started when I was 17 with no money. I mean, if you were 17 years old again in Chattanooga, Tennessee, what would you do to get your first deal with like 300 bucks in your bank account? Because you can't do direct mail.
Right. Well, with 300 bucks in my pocket, I mean, I'll just drive around. If I have a
Mhm,
car, hopefully I'll have a car and a phone, and I'll just drive around, look for distressed properties. And then I'll just learn on YouTube how much I should get a property under contract, find a contract on Google, and just get a list, get like 1,000 distressed properties around my area. Um, and then once I have that list, I'll start I'll call them. And there's free ways. I'll try to find a free way to find their phone numbers. Or I mean, skip tracing is not that expensive, so I'll use part of that 300 to skip trace some of those numbers so I can just
mhm,
call. And then for a cash buyer, another free way, I know I mentioned list sources, just going on your Facebook group, real estate group, and posting the deal there, or connecting with another wholesaler in town to joint venture with. But you should already have a property under contract at a good price, and then they can introduce you to like their cash buyers, and then sell the property that way. So I'll just do driving for dollars.
wow. It, that's the way to do it. So,
Right.
I really think this was such a great podcast and a great way to really. I don't think anyone's. I mean, have you gone on podcasts before here and really just told your story?
Yeah, I think yeah, I was on wholesaling for millions by Kong before.
I was trying to find
Yeah.
it. I couldn't find any
Yeah.
podcasts. So I.
Well, it was his YouTube channel. I don't know if he has a podcast, but I think this is my first podcast though, so
All right, great.
that's
So yeah,
cool.
I think it's really important for my audience and people to really see who Biz Matthew is behind the scenes, and I think this
Right.
was really important. I really appreciate you coming on today. I can't wait to have you on next year or the year after that and see just where your journey's going. And it's amazing. So keep doing what you do. I really
Mhm,
appreciate it. I've been following him for a while, and he's just growing like crazy, business wise and
mhm.
YouTube wise. Is there any parting thoughts you have for my guest or just my audience that just is nervous or like they don't know what to do?
Yeah, I mean, just try to, you know, understand, be self-aware that, going towards discomfort, you find success,
Mhm,
and knowing that you're going to be nervous, and preparing that you are going to be nervous, right? And saying, okay, I'm going
mhm,
to be nervous. It's something I'm going to deal with. And yeah, just if you're going to commit to something, commit it fully. Don't just say, hey, I'm going to spend a year working on this business. If I don't get a deal, then I'll know. But just commit to it. And yeah, I mean, just, be calm and just talk to sellers like you're talking to a friend or to family. And I think it should be good.
perfect. I really appreciate you coming on, guys. Check Biz Matthew out on YouTube. He's a great guy. He's on Instagram too. I don't know if you're on Facebook. Are you on Facebook?
Just Instagram for right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Instagram, YouTube, check him out. Watch his journey. He's one of the rare dudes on YouTube that's actually genuine and just showing his journey, being vulnerable. I really appreciate it. I love it. Thanks for coming on, and I'll see you guys next week. Thanks.